So here's the plan. I'm going to do something with this twin, and it's something a little bit different. This is going to be, when I'm done, a vertical shaft that has been converted into a horizontal shaft, and I'm going to make it a 46 cube. Now, all your 46 cube engines were vertical shaft. So the main difference between all the different variations of the Pose twin as it went through the years and different models as they changed them was the crankshaft. The crankshaft is mainly what gives you your displacement. So the top one is a 46, bottom one is a 42 out of a horizontal shaft. Really obvious difference as far as length. So I can just put, it's just a matter of switching out the parts, rods, and the crankshaft to make the horizontal 46. But with this being so long, it's not practical to put together like that, because unless I had something that I knew I could put it in, like as far as the equipment, and that wouldn't be an issue, then I just leave it alone. But when you do this, make a 46 a horizontal, that it looks like you definitely have to do something with that crank, and I pretty much have that lined up there. So if you cut this down to where you'd have a standard length for a horizontal, you're gonna have almost nothing to work with. So it looks like I'm gonna be spending some money. I'm gonna have this turned down. Talk to a machine shop in town nearby. He said he can do that. They can tap the hole in the end, because where this is going to get cut down, there's nothing in here, so that has to be done. And then the keyway, he said he actually has to send it to somebody else, and they have to grind the keyway into it. He couldn't give me an exact number. I didn't expect him to. It's probably going to cost as much as a new crank would be, which of course you can't get with this application. It's kind of a custom thing, so that's where most of the cost is going to be. I pretty much have all the parts to do this conversion. This conversion is well worth it, especially if you need a horizontal and you have a vertical. But what you should have is already the horizontal parts, the external parts, from a blown up engine or something like I do, because if you go chase down the parts separate and then build this up, you're going to be spending more than you can probably find a decent horizontal shaft engine. So there's your sump, obviously, with the mounting ears. That goes on the inspection plate that is on the vertical, and then there's your side cover where the PTO shaft would come out, and that would be on the other side of this, opposite of this side. So this block is a 92 Model 40 block. It's in good shape. It ran very well. Made sure it was good before I tore it down, and rebuilt the starter. One thing that really saves you some money on these starters, they have them on eBay. It's a starter repair kit. Basically just comes with the two bearings, which you only need the one because the top bearing is what wears out on these, and then it makes the starter work shitty. It rubs up against the magnets inside. You get the bearings and the brushes if you need them, but it's worth buying that kit. It's like less, I think it's like $10 just to get that bearing, because the bearing is the main thing that you got to replace. So you just push the bearing out of this top cover, this bracket, I guess you'd say. That part of the starter is what you're really repairing, the important thing. So that's a good engine, and it's a vertical, like I said. When you do a conversion, here's what you look for if you want to do this. Not every vertical, it seems like the early 90s verticals are the ones that are the good candidates, because you can kind of see it. You'd have to take, it's hard to see in here because of the light situation. Just bear with me. on this, on here and here, you have these plates, right? On the vertical and the horizontal. When you look, you don't have to take this off. I think if you just take the cylinder head off and you take the top shroud off and you look inside, right here is the hole where the dipstick would go for the horizontal. From this vintage of blocks around in the early 90s, they have a blank, I think I had it somewhere here, damn it. Basically it's just a plastic plug that the factory screwed into there. And so what they were doing, obviously, is using the same block for vertical and horizontal for a while, because I guess they had a lot of manufacturers going the vertical shaft, and the horizontals were being, they were using the same block for both, and I guess they had a lot of horizontal setups in the factory, and they had to make them verticals, so they just plugged that. So if you see that, and it has a plastic plug in it, it has like a slot in it for a screw, you're already pretty much there, because the later blocks, and even the ones before that, like from the 80s, the earlier blocks, this casting was blanked off. So you'd have to, if you wanted to use that, one of those blocks, you would have to, literally, you'd have to drill that and then have it machined for that thread so you could put that grommet in there so it would hold the dipstick. So that's why you look for these blocks, because they're so much easier. But just because of that, you're well on your way to the conversion. Throttle bracket is the same. Throttle arm is different. I got that on eBay. I was short one of those. This is a twin too, so that is the correct. They changed that around they'd say about 87 when they made the twin two. They changed the governor setup a little bit, because the governor's actually here instead of on the intake manifold. Okay, what else here? As far as inside, you can use, I mean, either you're doing, just the regular conversion, you're using minimal amount of parts, trying to spend the least amount of money. You can use everything that's been in there, including the crank, if the crank isn't a big deal, or you just swap out for, you can find those 42, Model 40 and 42 horizontal crankshafts pretty cheap, so you don't have to really mess with that. You just buy another crankshaft if you need to. But otherwise, you use everything internally. You do have to, obviously, you're not going to have your oil slinger, the rotary style one that's gear driven that has the paddles. You have to use the dipper, and this is such a freaking mess. You're going to add a dipper to the one. I gotta turn that off. I'm gonna use the dipper that is on that's closer to the sump, so it's gonna be on the rod that's for this cylinder, so that you can get your oil circulated. As far as the oil pump models, the IC Plus, I don't know what to tell you, because those blocks are exclusive to the oil pump model. I would say no, just because it's going to be more involved, and I don't know how the things are drilled as far as where the oil flow is. The other difference is, it's very minor, but I read about it on a forum. This already has it. I don't know if it's really as critical, but there's no way you're going to be able to see it. But in the lower corners, the lower inside quarters of both of these spring, underneath both of these valve covers, there's a hole, and that's your drain back for the oil. Those should be drilled out. It's just a very, very small hole that's I guess that's how the oil gets back after it splashes up from the from these other holes. So that's really the only difference between the two blocks. I mean, they're really this tap off for your fuel pump, for the vacuum, that was, of course, right there, and that plug was there, so it's just a matter of switching it over. I don't see why it'd be a problem if for some reason that wasn't there, that hole in the plug. I don't see why it'd be a problem just to leave it there, but I did change it. So just a little bit different angle, I guess that's the main thing. So that pretty much covers what you're looking at as far as a conversion. It's going to be an interesting project. It's not too hard. Just have to get that crankshaft situation down, and then I can build this up. But it really is, they really did make it very possible to change these over, because it was the same design, same basic block. So I will make another video when this thing is done, or when it's close to being done.